Community focus. Community focus. We're here for you. With me and you. On our point of view. At 5 o'clock. You're North London. The podcast crew. A week in review. We're here for you. Yeah. Our point of view. How about you?
Hooray! Hooray! Community Focus is an art centre for children and adults with disabilities. We are based in the Borough of Barnet, North London, and offer a selection of creative and well-being activities for all ages. Yay! In the room we have
Annie, Sophia,
Gila, Abigail,
Carol,
Yasmin, and Ruby.
Yay!
Today the girls are taking over the podcast!
Yay!
A quick note before we start, this episode is a little different. We're delving into women's health, specifically periods, with a group of girls from Community Focus and Dr. Dhavale. This discussion is meant to support girls, parents and carers who might find those topics tricky to talk about or don't have someone to turn to. While we have approached this with care, some may find parts of this conversation a bit sensitive. We hope this is helpful and empowering for anyone listening.
Dr. Dhavale graduated from the Royal Free and University College Medical School in 2002 and completed her general and GP specialty training in London. She is a member of the Royal College of General Practitioners with Merit and holds diplomas in child health and sexual health and reproduction. Currently, Dr. Dhavale is a clinical tutor in Women's Health and University College, UCL. In 2023, she received UCL's High Commended for Excellent GP Tutor Award. Driven by a passion for teaching, she launched Dr. Dhavale Talks to increase public and workplace awareness on women's health issues. She is coming in today to talk to us about women's health and answer some of our questions.
Yay!
So good morning everyone, my name is Dr. Dhavale. I'm a GP in Barnet, so in this area, and I teach medical students, so future doctors, all about women's health. And today we're going to be talking about periods. We'll be going through some common myths as true and false questions, so let's crack on. So what is a period? Everyone that's born as a biological woman, meaning they have a womb, will have a period at some stage. Usually it can happen in your late childhood or early teens. Everyone is different, so everyone will start at different times. And every month you'll have a bleed, and this bleed comes from your vagina. It's really important to know it doesn't mean that you're hurt or you're injured. This is a normal process. But everyone will experience periods differently. The average cycle is 28 days. Is that true or is that false?
Yeah, it's true, I think. The cycle, like you don't bleed for 28 days, but you go through like the ovulation stage. And I mean, I learnt all this in science, but I've forgotten now. But yeah, it resets after 28 days, I think, but I know everyone's different, so maybe it's not right.
I'm going to say true. So the average is 28 days, which means some people will have a period every 28 days, but everyone is different, like you said. So some will have periods bit more frequently, so maybe every 21 days, and some might have them a little bit longer, so more than a month later. But the most important thing is, if you're not having a period at least every 3 months, then that's not normal. So please do speak to your GP about this. You cannot bath or shower when you're on a period. True or false?
Yeah.
Of course it's false, but you can bath and shower when you get your period, because it's a form of heat, and heat helps when you're on your period, and it helps it to keep it clean and sanitary.
Exactly that, Annie. Nothing else for me to add. So it's completely false. It's really important to keep yourself clean, especially when you're on a period. And like you said, the heat can sometimes help if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable or have some cramps. You cannot play sports. True or false?
False, that actually helps with periods.
Correct, it's completely false. Whilst you're on your period, you can still do all the things that you normally do, which includes studying, working and playing sports. Sports might actually be helpful, especially if you're feeling quite low in mood, or you're feeling quite fatigued, or you're feeling quite low or anxious. Playing sports or some form of activity is quite helpful. You may just need to consider your period wear, especially if it's things like swimming, but you can definitely play sports. Everyone will have the same type of period. True or false?
False, because everyone has different cycles, and sometimes, well, with mine it stops and then it goes again, but everyone has different cycles. Sometimes it could be light and sometimes it can be heavy.
Correct, Annie. I don't know why I'm here. So the answer is false, and this is really important because if you speak to your friends, your siblings, your parents, everyone will have a different type of period, and it can differ in how many days you bleed for, how heavy it is. So the answer is false.
Yeah, I just want to say sometimes mine stops and then it starts again. Yeah. Like in the middle of it. Or it just bleeds really heavy and then it goes again.
That's a normal period for you, whereas somebody else might have a completely different type of period.
And then it lasts like 2 weeks. So, yeah.
And that's the other thing. So there will be differences in how many days you bleed for and how heavy or light it is. Periods will stop when you're 50. True or false?
I think it's false, because sometimes people stop at like in their mid-50s, and I wouldn't say it's like, sometimes when you're like 60 or over 50, you can get like small little periods, but they're not periods, they're just I don't know how to explain. It's like it's not like that. You don't bleed blood, but you still have to wear pads. But it doesn't really happen as much.
I'm wondering if you're talking about women leaking urine when they might need to wear pads. Yeah. So unfortunately, that can happen. But the answer I'm going to say is false, because some women will stop their periods earlier than 50, and some may continue with their periods until after the age of 50. The average age is around 45 to 55, but like I said, some may have it a bit later. But anyone whose periods stop before the age of 45, that's not normal. So again, you will need to speak to your doctor about that. You can't get pregnant during your period. True or false?
False, because during ovulation you're basically stripping the outside of the vagina, so you can't really have, like sex because of what's happening. That make sense?
So I'm going to say that's false. You can fall pregnant when you're on a period, and it all depends on how often you're having your periods. So for those who have them more frequently than once a month, so in other words, if your periods if you get your period less than 28 days, then there is a chance that you could fall pregnant if you're having sex during your period. Painful periods are normal. True or false?
True to a certain extent. I don't know a single woman who doesn't have some kind of pain when they're on their period, but I think if it impacts your day-to-day activities, then you probably need to get some help for it.
Fantastic, well done, Sophia. So exactly as Sophia said, so some women may notice that their periods can be uncomfortable. They might feel a little bit of discomfort. Everyone is different again, so you might speak to friends and family, and some will have no symptoms at all, and some might have really painful periods. The most important thing is, if you feel as though your periods are affecting you and normal painkillers are not helping, then again, please do see your GP. There's so much that we can do to help with your pain. With painful periods, it's not normal if your pain starts before your period or if your pain is continuing. So once your bleeding has stopped, if you're still having pain, then that's not normal. But also if you're having pain or if you're bleeding after sex, that's also not normal. So again, please don't ignore that. Speak to your GP. If you feel as though you're struggling with the pain, then it's really important to try and manage the pain. So painkillers are very effective and they can help. Good painkillers to try in the first instance is paracetamol and or ibuprofen. If you feel as though the painkillers aren't helping, then it's definitely time to speak to your GP and we can discuss other options. The first thing your doctor will do is speak to you about your periods and probably ask you lots of personal questions, and that's just for us to understand what your body is doing. It's not us being nosy, I promise you. And it will allow us to try and decide whether we need to give you something a little bit stronger in terms of painkillers. We might need to consider something completely different, a different type of medication, such as a contraceptive pill. But we'll also look at other things that you can do at home. So it's really important, and not necessarily just for your periods, but it's really important to make sure you're having a healthy, balanced diet. You might notice that during your period or before your period starts, you might want to eat more sugary foods, which at the time makes you feel quite good, but then you'll notice you have a slump and you feel quite low and quite irritable afterwards. So look at your diet to try and make sure it's healthy and balanced as much as you can.
It's good to take multivitamins on your period, especially iron, because your iron levels tend to drop.
And that's a really good point, Annie. So some women will have heavy periods and they can bleed quite a bit and become anemic. So eating iron-rich foods is really, really helpful, and supplements if you need it. If you have a healthy, balanced diet, then hopefully you shouldn't need too many supplements. Keeping active is also a really good thing to do. So that can be anything from taking a walk in the park to doing some sport. But the exercise will help not only just for fitness, but also can help with period pains, as well as your mood. So what is PMS? PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome. Does anyone want to mention any symptoms that you can get with PMS?
Depression.
Depression is one of them. You might feel that your mood's a bit low, a bit more irritable, a bit more anxious. Any other symptoms?
Anxious and irritable.
These are all symptoms of PMS. Unfortunately, there's so many more. You may not have any of them. You may have some of them. Hopefully you don't have all of them. But it can range from having headaches, feeling a bit bloated. You might notice your skin changes. It might become a bit more spotty leading up to your period. You might notice mood changes that we discussed. So you might feel a bit more irritable, a bit more anxious, a bit more angry. You might feel a bit bloated and tired. These symptoms can happen 1 to 2 weeks before your period is due. So if you feel as though you're noticing symptoms, my advice to you is to note it in a diary or on a tracking app and then you might be able to see patterns emerging. So if you feel as though you're struggling with PMS, there's lots of things that you can do at home before you come and see your GP. The first is exercise. Try and incorporate some form of exercise every day, even if it's for 10 minutes. Getting outside and getting some fresh air will do you wonders. Look at your diet. Try and make sure it's healthy and balanced. Try and avoid eating lots of sugary foods, even though I know it's really tempting, only because initially you'll feel really good with it, and then you'll notice that slump and you might feel a bit more irritable once that sugar spike has worn off. If you're feeling quite stressed and anxious, meditation, yoga is really helpful. But also talk to someone. Talk to someone that you trust, and if you don't feel as though there's anyone you can talk to, there's always your GP. We're always here to listen and help, and I will give some further details. And another really good idea is a self-care kit. So you might want to create a little package, and it can have anything that you find comforting. It can be a book, comfortable clothes, stress balls, fidgets, hand body creams, anything that makes you feel quite good and quite comfortable and makes you feel quite reassured. Put that into a self-care kit, and you know you can turn to your kit when you need to. In addition to the self-care kit, I think it's really important to have self-care, and that can mean different things to different people. It can mean anything from taking some time out, so whether you're studying or working, taking out time to yourself, whether you're having a nap, reading a book, watching a TV program, whatever it is that makes you feel the most comforted, it's really important that you do. So self-care and self-rest is really important.
What to do when you're on your period?
So what to do when you're on a period? So the honest answer is do everything that you normally do. Your period should not normally stop you from doing the activities that you enjoy doing. I think it's really important to be prepared for your period, so make sure you have a box or a kit at home which has all your period wear, and there's so much out there, from tampons to pads to period knickers. So my advice is to be prepared.
How do I find the right pad? Because they irritate me.
That's a really good question. So my first advice would be make sure you're wearing the right type of pad. So pads can be really confusing. They come in different shapes, different sizes. You will notice that your period is not the same each day. Some days it might be heavier, some days it might be lighter. So making sure you're using the correct pad for your flow. And when I say flow, I'm talking about the blood that you're losing. Also, how often are you changing your pads? So if you're wearing your pad for a long period of time, then it might start to irritate your skin. So changing your pads frequently, especially when they're soiled. But you may also want to look at other forms of period wear. So maybe period knickers might be a better option, or tampons, or even moon cups if you're happy to try them.
Do some foods make period pains better?
So I'm going to say if you have a healthy, balanced diet, then that will be really beneficial for your periods. Some foods which can make your periods worse are the things that we spoke about earlier. So processed foods or junk food, which I know we all like, but sugary foods can probably have an adverse effect, so can actually make you feel worse rather than better.
Why do people get tired on their periods?
That's a really good question. So the main reason is because of the hormones. During and leading up to your periods, your hormones are all over the place, and that can have an effect on your energy and your mood. But also, if you are on a period and you're having quite a heavy or even a painful period, that can make you feel quite tired and drained.
So why do people get moody on their period?
So another very common symptom, again, it's all to do with these hormones. So leading up to your period, your hormones all over the place, and it can affect some people with their mood. So one really good tip is if you're feeling quite irritable or quite anxious or low in mood, is to take some time out for yourself, and it's what I would call self-care. So resting, taking a break, doing something that will take your mind off whatever it is that's stressing you out is a good idea.
Is it true when you're around other girls you can get periods connected with each other?
So there is some evidence that girls who spend a lot of time together, so living in the same household, their periods might synchronise, and you might find that your periods tend to start at the same time, but that's not always the case.
What supplements do I need to take when I'm on my period?
So generally, I would say if you're having a healthy, balanced diet, then you shouldn't really need supplements because your diet should be giving you everything that you need. However, there is a group of women who may need to take iron supplements because they're bleeding quite heavily, and because of that they are becoming anemic.
Does my period affect my eczema? Does it get worse or gets better?
With periods, and because of the hormonal changes, some may notice that certain conditions might get better, but even more so might get worse. So skin changes are quite common, and I think it's important to recognise that, especially with eczema, your skin is getting more inflamed, and making sure you're using the right products for your skin.
Can PMS make us not like ourselves?
So unfortunately, with PMS, some may experience it quite severely, and for those who experience it quite severely, they may have negative feelings about themselves. This isn't normal. I mean, it's not nice for you to be feeling this way, and it's not normal to be feeling this way. So I would advise you to speak to your GP to try and get some further help.
Why do we have period pains?
When we have periods, our body releases a particular chemical which can cause period pains. Whilst most women will experience some discomfort, extremely painful period pains or pains which are persisting are not normal, for which I would encourage you to see your GP.
What is the difference between PMS and PMDD?
Very good question. So for those who don't know, PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome, also known as PMT, premenstrual tension. PMDD stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is a more severe form of PMS. So you may notice it around the same time, but the symptoms tend to be more severe. And again, there is help out there.
If someone is not biologically a woman, how is it possible for them to get periods?
Very good question. In short, the answer is no. If you're not a biological female, then you will not have a womb, and therefore you will not have periods.
Why do we get irregular periods?
Irregular periods can be normal at the very beginning and also at the very end of your reproductive life. However, irregular periods otherwise are not normal, and it's usually to do with hormones. If you feel as though you're not having a period at least every 6 weeks or so, I would suggest you speak to your GP for us to rule out other causes for your irregular periods.
Do trans people still have periods after their operation?
Really good question. So it depends on what operation they've had. So if they were born with a womb and that womb hasn't been removed, then they will still continue to have periods. However, there's so many different forms of transitioning, and some medications can actually stop your periods.
What's the best skin product for acne, scars, or acne in general? do you recommend any other skin treatments to get rid of scars and acne?
That's a really good question. So one thing that we mentioned is with periods, especially leading up to your period, you might notice that your skin changes. It might become a bit more spotty. There are so many skin products available over the counter. I think a good range to begin with is things like Clearasil, but also La Roche-Posay. They have a moisturiser called Effaclar Duo. I will send the details, which I think is really effective and it does work for skin. But I would say in the first instance, just a simple skincare routine. So washing your face with water, perhaps using a cleanser to get rid of any dirt, any impurities, any makeup, and then using a good facial moisturiser. If you feel as though you are troubled by spots, there are products that you can use over the counter, which means you don't need a prescription, and I can send a link for products which I would recommend. However, with scarring, that's not normal, and it can affect your confidence. If you feel as though you've got acne scarring, then please speak to your GP, because there's certain medications that we can give you to help you with this.
A big thank you to Dr. Meg.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
Final thoughts are... I had a really nice time. It's something I've never done before, so thank you for having me.
This project's amazing.
I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
It was great coming It was great coming together as a group and hearing everyone's thoughts and ideas, and we're quite accepting when we're all together. Yeah.
My final thoughts are, this is amazing podcast, and I love being a podcast where everyone is so accepting, and when I'm in a safe space and I can just share what I want to share and I won't be judged about it. So it's amazing.
Attending a podcast was the first time for me. Yeah, I kind of feel like I could have been a bit more prepared better before attending. Yet I will like to try again, depending on what topic it will be.
Community focus. We're here for you. With me and you. Under our point of view. At 5 o'clock, you're North London. The podcast crew. A week in review. We're here for you, yeah. Our point of view.